Hello guys, welcome to Solving Solutions, your number one channel where you get solutions to all your solving problems. It's nice having you in class again today. How have you been? We are going to have a very interesting discussion today, and then we are going to show you how to extract or download vector data sets from OpenStreetMap. Before we start, thanks for coming to class. If you are a new viewer, encourage us by subscribing to the channel, and if you are a returning viewer, thanks for always checking up on us. So for today's task, you need to be connected to the internet before you can have the best of it. Then we are going to show you how to download or how to extract or how to get vector data sets from OpenStreetMap using the plugin on QGIS. Sometime on this channel we showed you how to download georeferenced maps without maybe manually georeferencing them. So let's say per adventure you already have a map and you want to start digitizing. So this particular method we are going to show to you would ease the process of digitizing. It will reduce the process of digitizing to a very great extent. So without spending much time, let's see how we go about the whole stuff. So the first thing is that we are going to look at the plugin. So you come to your plugins, then you go to manage and install plugins. Good. When the plugins window is open, you come to all and then you search for QuickOSM, right? So we look for QuickOSM. Good. Now this is actually the base map we are going to use, right? So let's say you don't have it installed. It's actually installed on my QGIS. That's why the plugin is already installed on my QGIS. That's why you can see it checked. So if yours is not installed, this is how you can access that particular plugin, QuickOSM, right? Good. So you install and then you close. So since it's installed, we just close. So how do we access it? We come to vector, then QuickOSM, then we now click on the QuickOSM. Good. So when the QuickOSM window is open, then we can now see some important stuff here. Now, how do you interpret what you can see on your screen? We have the key and we have the value. So before ever we move on with whatever we have here, I'm going to show you something on the browser. Now, for you to be able to have a very good understanding of how those map features work, you need to visit map features. OSM map features, right? Let me get the query right. You need to visit OSM map features on your browser. Now this OSM map features, what it does is that it gives you what those keys are and the expected let's say fields you are going to use under those keys. Now the essence of showing you this is that by the time we now go back to QGIS, you should be able to appreciate how we selected those keys. Good. So we are going to see maybe during your leisure or maybe when you're practicing rather, you can go through some of these features and then you see what they are. Now let's come back to QGIS. So we are now under good. So we are now under the keys and the values, right? So now the first thing we need to understand is that when we want to download the vector data of a particular area, we need to know that okay, we can define the area in different methods or so. So what do I mean by that? You come to this, we have around, canvas extent, layer extent, and non-spatial. Now we are going to maybe explain what this in Canva extent and layer extent simply means. These things are very simple. Before that, let's bring in the OSM here. So you go to web and then you go to quick map services and then you go to what OSM, then you go to what OSM standard. This will now load the OSM. Now this is the OSM standard. It's like a database of all the features like you have on your your Google Earth or other Basemaps. So now, having established this, let's now go back to our QuickOSM window. Now, under this QuickOSM window, let's say you want to, under key, let's say you need, let's use the drop down. You need, let's start with something very simple. Let's say you need buildings, right? Good. And then the buildings, the type of buildings you need, that's what the value means. The key is the primary, let's say the primary function. Then this is the secondary function, if that's how best we can explain it. So we need buildings, and what type of buildings do we need? So let's say apartment. Let's say apartment. Good. Then the next thing is now asking us, where do we need those apartments, those buildings that are apartments? So let's say we have Port Harcourt. Good. Okay. We have Port Harcourt, right? Good. Having established that, we just scroll down to advanced. Now, under advanced, we need to understand some of these things that are here, some of these geometry types. You know, buildings are not points, rather are they lines, rather are they multi-line strings, right? So they are multi-polygons, or as the case may be. Sometimes, if you don't know what data type or what geometry type it is, you can decide to leave them. But since we know what it is, let's just try to uncheck all of those. Then we run the query. Now, what this query is supposed to give us, or what is supposed to return, are what buildings that are apartments within or that are in Port Harcourt. Are we together? The ease of access of open source GIS data, the availability differs from different locations. Now, you might not be able to see some of these how would I put some of these keys and values in your own location. However, you can just decide to streamline the search to which of them you can find within your location. So we have seen one that has, okay, the apartment was just one. Good. Now let's come and let's just change this. Instead of saying apartment, let's not specify. So it should just extract all the buildings. So we come down to run query again. Now the reason why it came up with just one is because of the filter. The value is like an alternative, or we can just call it filter, like it has sieved the buildings to only apartments. So you can now see, as we have said earlier, the availability of open source GIS data varies from location to location. Your own location might return so many values under apartments. However, for the location of our choice, or for the location we just chose, or for the location we used, we are able to just have what? One. But we have tried to change or modified our field. Now let's see. We just have buildings, and let's see the number of buildings we have now. Good. You can now see we have so many buildings. Are we together? And with our base map, we have been able to confirm that yes, these buildings are well located in their space, which means they are actually georeferenced. So having seen these buildings, or having seen this vector data set, you can be able to start making your map, or maybe do a little modification, and then you start whatever analysis you want to do with them. So this is the essence of today's video. How to show you how to download vector data set from OpenStreetMap, using OpenStreetMap, using the QuickOSM plugin on QGIS. Now this is just one of the type of data you can download. Let's still come around and see what we can still do again. Now we told you earlier on that we can still use what Canva extent. What the canvas extent simply means is that this is actually your map canvas, right? Okay, let's put off some of these other layers. This is actually your map canvas. So let's say you have actually maybe navigated to your location. Maybe you're working in in Ghana, in Canada, in the UK, Germany, or maybe India, or wherever you are, and then you've actually navigated to your location and you want to download or you want to extract the vector data sets within that location. That's what we want to show you now. So you just maybe bring that your location to your map canvas. So let's say this is your map canvas, right? Good. So you come under this QuickOSM window. Then instead of just choosing in or instead of selecting in, you just say what? Canvas extent or canvas extent, right? Then you come down under your advanced, you make your little modification if you want to. Then upon doing that, just what you run the query. Now the next thing is that the value, the value differs. If the location you're working in does not have most of these other values, like most of these other filtered values, then you might just decide to leave it on the primary key so that you can just see as many vector data set as possible. But by the time you start sieving it, by the time you start filtering it, you might find out that the GIS data within that location might not cover some of these values. So for the purpose of this video, we are still going to leave it on buildings. Are we together? Because we feel that's very common. But when you want to work, you can decide to go for. You can see there are different keys. Now, by the time you go to your browser to that OSM map feature, you will see what some of these keys mean. We have for roads, I think it's called highways. Then under highway, you can now see, okay, let's see that under highway, good. Under highway, you can now see different values. You can see your roads, you can see what you call roads, and then you can see primary, secondary, you can see them, right? Good. So that's how you see it. But let's now go back to what we are doing. We are still on building, right? So good. So we are now seeing canvas extent, right? Good. So we just run the query. Then we wait for what the result would be. So this is another method you can extract the vector data set from your OpenStreetMap using the QuickOSM plugin on QGIS. These things are very simple, they are very easy, and it saves you the stress of trying to maybe digitize some features. Are we together? Because they are actually georeferenced and even digitized. As you can see that they are actually falling within the um, the normal location. So our query result is out. Let's see how that goes. So we have our buildings within our map canvas. You can now see these are the buildings. Remember, we've put off some of these first two layers which we extracted earlier. The only layer that is active is this last layer that was extracted. And you can see the number of buildings that were extracted, because we are working on the map canvas. Are we together? So by the time we zoom, we will now see that we can't find anything outside where we were working on, which is outside where the map canvas covered earlier. Are these things very simple to you? I know they are very simple, and I know you're getting it. Good. So this is another method you can use to extract vector data set from the OpenStreetMap using the QuickOSM plugin. Now let's look at something else again. Now we have another method, which is the layer extent. What this layer extent means is that under this your layer panel, you would have added a layer. Maybe you've added a layer, then you want to download the vector data sets within that layer. So for the purpose of this video, we are going to bring in a shapefile. So yours might not be a shapefile, it might be any vector data set that that you can use to serve as your boundary or your guide, right? That can guide you for your extraction. So if you don't have any boundary to guide you for your extraction, you can just navigate to that location and use this method we just showed to you. So let's say if you have a vector data set which you want to use as your boundary. So let's bring in this vector. Let's come to layer, then we come to add layer, then add vector layer, right? Then let's see. Good. We've actually created a folder called download vector data, and we are trying to bring in the shapefile of river state, right? Good. We add and we close. So as we said earlier, yours might not be a shapefile, it might just be maybe any vector data set. We don't want to be specific. It can be any vector data set you want to work with, and then you can just import it. Let's see, let's make this transparent a bit. Now we want to look at the other method of what extracting the vector data set. What that simply means is that we are going to say it should extract the vector data set that is within what, that is within this layer. So let's come back to our QuickOSM window. Then we now specify the layer extent reverse, right? Good. So it means that it's going to download all of the buildings that are within what, this layer extent, or that are within this layer. Are we together? Good. So let's see how that goes. So we just run the query again. Good. So the query result is out. Let's now see it on the layer panel. One layer successfully added. Good. Now under the using the search by layer extent, we have been able to query out these other buildings underscore apartments. So we can now see some of the buildings that are apartments that are what, that are within the layer we are working on. So these things are very simple. They are easy to use. Now we are still going to make this emphasis that the availability or the ease of access of open source GIS data varies from location to location. If in your location you cannot access some of these vector data sets, you can decide to try maybe different query, and then you get something very different. So we have been able to show you how to use the in, we have been able to show you how to use the Canva extent and the layer extent. Now for the purpose of let's see Montreal, that's another city I love, and then let's see buildings. So instead of buildings, let's go to highways, right? Let's see highways. Good. Highway. Good. Then let's see the value. What value should be used? Let's use primary. Good. So it's going to download by primary. By the time you go to the browser, you'll see what the primary means under highway, right? Good. So now remember that this is not actually polygon, so we need to leave it under either multi-line strings and lines. Good. Then we say we run the query. Let's see how it comes up. Good. Successful query, right? Let's see how that goes. So zoom to layer, and then let's put on our OSM standard, because that serves as our base map. Good. You can see now that we are actually within that location. We can see Montreal, maybe EST or something. So this is how you play around the QuickOSM plugin. Let's put up this other layer. They are far apart. So this is how you play around your QuickOSM plugin. This is how you download your different data sets. Now on the channel, we said earlier, we've shown you how to download already georeferenced satellite images, right? Good. So if those georeferenced satellite images are having some features you want to digitize, you want to get the vector data sets out of those raster data sets, this is another alternative, a very good alternative on how you can access what those vector data sets that are within that your image you've downloaded. Are we together? So we are going to leave links to some of these videos, like especially that video on the description section where you can see it. We're also going to leave links to how to maybe import your vector data to maybe QGIS, and how to use, maybe extract a vector data set from a complete vector data set, by having, like for that of Rivers State, we add all of the states in Nigeria in it, so how to extract a part of it. So we are going to leave the link to that video also in the description section. So on today's video, we have been able to show you how to download. The first one we used was were polygon features. Now we've shown you how to download for lines, and they are all vector data sets, right? Good. So, and you have been able to verify, like you have been able to confirm that yes, these points or these vector data are actually within, or they are actually in their right positions, right? Because with this OSM standard, or with this OSM base map, we have been able to locate, yes, validate. We have been able to validate that those vector data sets we downloaded are actually within what their right position. So let's still come back to some of these buildings, and then let's zoom to the layers and see how it is. So we hope we've been able to provide solution to this particular surveying problem. Let's still zoom this to layers so we can have a better picture. So you can now see that all of these locations, all of these vector data sets rather, are within what they are within River State. So there's another thing, you can just come to any of them, like maybe you right click, you go to the attribute table, you can see the different attributes of those vector data sets. You can see these buildings, they are all apartments. They are all apartments. So there are different attributes you can maybe navigate through and then see for yourself, okay, staff quarters, and the rest of that. So we also have this other one, buildings underscore Port Harcourt. Let's see this other one. Is quite much, 3964. So we have different types of buildings, hospital, residential. We have different types of buildings, and as many other information as you can find on each of them. So yeah, if you have maybe any challenge regarding this, if you have any issue related to this, you can always contact us, because the application of this particular process is actually vast and enormous, because you can apply it to so many things and it will ease your processes. So thanks for coming to class. We hope we've exhaustively shown you how to download vector data sets from the OSM using the QuickOSM plugin on QGIS. So if you have any question, ensure or do well to leave the questions on the comment section, or you can send us any message via our different contacts. Also, you can support the channel if you want to, and we would appreciate that so well. So if you need contact details, you can actually contact us, or you check the channel description for the different means of supporting the channel. We are going to see you on our next video. Until then, keep being good at what you're doing and have a nice time. Bye.